Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are feeling great, feeling fantastic, and just having a great start to your Monday and a fantastic start to your week. I got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise across the lower 48. For your Monday, we're speaking on a severe weather risk across all the high plains due to this upper trough across the western U.S. We'll speak on that, and we'll talk about everybody in this video as we always do in the lower 48. And at the very end of the video, we'll give you a brief update on the tropics. We'll talk about it all. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I have not had a chance to answer the comments from last night's video, but if you are interested in this pattern change that is going to happen now, it's no longer a potential, it's now forecast to happen. Check out the video that I made yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening. I get in big time detail on a pattern changing cold front that will sweep across the central and eastern U.S. and really abruptly shift us from summer to fall. It's one of those kind of summer backbreaker cold fronts, if you will. So if you're a fall weather fan, a cooler weather fan, then you're definitely going to like what I talked about in last night's video. So check that out. We'll continue to get detailed on that in the coming days, but this is going to be a nice cold front for you fall weather fans, that's for sure. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So let's talk about what's going on out there this morning, just like we always do in these morning videos, and our clicker is working. This trough with this with the jet that's basically digging south with the associated trough that's also digging south across the western U.S. is bringing a lot of weather with it, and it has continued to bring a lot of weather with it over the last several days and continues to bring a lot of weather with it. And you can see it digging down on the water vapor loop here. It seems like we have had a lot of weather in this region over the last really several days. We've had a lot of rain, even higher elevation snow. So that has pretty much been the theme for the weather in areas of Nevada, portions of Nevada. Of course, not the entire states that I'm about to mention, but a good portion of these states: Utah, Idaho, western Wyoming, Colorado. But one thing we watch as basically the jet digs. When the jet digs, that means that it's basically the road network of where these systems take, these storm systems. Of course, storm systems meaning rain, storms, snow, whatever it may be. So these systems travel along this jet dig right here, and then they move up. So yes, along with this actual trough of low pressure, you have moisture. But on the outside of this jet, you have flow aloft, and then you have advecting moisture at the surface, which means right where I just drew this arrow, you have winds coming out the south or southwest, and this is bringing in a lot of low-level moisture into this region right in here, which is portions of the Rockies and then the high plains. So you basically get a big-time moisture pool into this region. You don't need a lot of low-level moisture into this area to create a lot of storm fuel, that cape, just due to the higher elevation. Okay, lower elevation, you get dew points in the upper 50s, low 60s. That's probably not a big-time high-end thermodynamic as far as dew points, but you get that in the high plains. It's a different story just due to elevation. You get this mixed with a big-time flow aloft, because as this jet basically screeches across this entire region right here, it causes winds aloft, basically a mid-level jet, if you will. Winds well above our heads or where we're standing at the surface in these areas are screaming at about anywhere from 55 to 65, 70 miles per hour in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This creates a lot of wind energy and a lot of forcing for storms into, in this case today, into this area of the high plains. So we are definitely going to have a risk for some damaging winds and a risk for some tornadoes. So you can check that kinematic off as far as an ingredient, and you can check that thermodynamic off as far as that low-level moisture evecting into this region. So that's what's really going on. That's really driving the big-time weather for today. A lot of dry air still around out here, but with this jet that's digging down here, you also have the ridge that's built all the way up into here. So high pressure is dominating this region. That is why you're dealing with these above average temperatures across, this entire region right into here. So I know that's a lot of crazy arrows, but you guys know how I do. I like to draw crazy arrows on the screen for you folks. As far as the radar and what it looks like, I mean, you can see the pattern really well. If I draw these arrows again, you can see the moisture coming in from the south to the north across the Rockies. You see it right here. That is what I'm talking about. You know, you see this is kind of moving in from the northwest to the southeast. So it digs down here, and this is associated with that upper level trough digging across the western U.S. and then it moves across this area, and you can actually see these showers in North Dakota sort of moving not so much south to north anymore, but southwest to northeast. And then this ridge builds all the way up into here, and at the upper portion of this ridge, that's where you got the jet too. So it continues to go just like this, and that's why these showers and heavy rain over the UP of Michigan and portions of Lake Superior, the Great Lakes region, is moving more so northwest to southeast, kind of drifting in that direction. So you can see it pretty well. And then right here in the middle of the country, nothing. Okay, you just got a lot of sinking air. It's because high pressure is dominating this area. So as far as showers, storms this morning, rain, not a whole lot of anything really going on for a large area. In the extreme eastern areas of the UP of Michigan, you do have some heavy rain, even some rumbles of thunder potentially. And then you got these showers at very high elevation snow falling across areas of the Rockies. This should be a little bit of a different story later on, which drives the Storm Prediction Center. We have a slight risk across pretty much all of eastern New Mexico and then the extreme western counties of Texas. And then we got a marginal risk that extends basically from the Mexico-U.S. border all the way to the Canadian-U.S. border. This includes all of the high plains region up to the northern plains. Okay, so we're going to have a risk of severe weather in all of these areas. It's just this area is what we really watch out for. The level 2 out of 5, the slight risk, we have a 2% risk of a tornado, and this could change at around 8:45, 9 a.m. Eastern time. There's typically another update from the Storm Prediction Center, so we'll see if anything changes. But right now, you got that 2% risk of a tornado in this green area. And then winds, you have a 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher, which is 55 to 60 miles per hour. Hail threat, a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in this area. So, you know, a legit severe weather risk today, but nothing that you can dub an outbreak or anything like that. Excessive rainfall outlook, we have a slight risk, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in any given location in this region. So there's going to be widespread storms today for sure. It's not going to be one of those days where you just have 1 or 2 or 3 storms that are going to be dominant storms. There's going to be widespread storms today in this region. You got plenty of forcing in the atmosphere and, plenty of moisture for this area considering. So definitely a flooding risk in this region today. Let's talk about the southeast. I want to start off by talking about these temperatures. Despite it being very warm and there not being really a big time cold front that's kept us cool, really over the last 2 weeks in the southeast, the Carolinas, really, the southern Alps, I mean, there's been some nice, pleasant mornings with just a consistent return flow that's been keeping us nice and crisp in the mornings. And this morning is no different. We got temperatures all the way into the 50s into south central Georgia. Some 50s even showing up, and these are actual current temperatures. Some 50s showing up in southern Alabama. And I mean, it's been nice. Now, you work yourself a little bit further west, and the further you get west, the warmer it gets. The warmer the low temperatures are and the high temperatures are. But it's been nice. Just want to show you guys this. But as far as what's going to fall today weather-wise across the southeast, if you live in the Bahamas, definitely going to be another active day with just a lot of shower and storm activity. The southern tip of Florida will see the most action today out of anybody in the southeast. Outside of Miami, in and around the Miami, the Everglades region, maybe even the Fort Myers. You guys could certainly see some showers and storms today. There could be some isolated downpours in central Florida that could drift into the Tampa Bay region. But I think that today, compared to the last several days that we've seen in Florida, definitely not as active. Everybody else in the southeast, we need rain in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama. Heck, we need rain in the Carolinas and Georgia. I mentioned in last night's video, we have not seen rain here in my neck of the woods here in central South Carolina since September 17th. So it's been over 2 weeks for us too, but I know for some areas it's been much longer than that. So it's hard for me to complain. But it stays dry today throughout the whole entire 24-hour period all the way to Tuesday morning. So unfortunately, no rain. The Northeast, another dry day today. You continue to dry out. Nothing to really speak on at all. Sorry to only give you guys about 15 seconds of fame. I know I got a lot of loyal viewers up here in the Northeast, and I appreciate y'all very much. But it's just a quiet day today. Maybe sometime tonight you might get some showers. It might sneak into Maine. But I mean, I wouldn't even bet on that. Just a quiet, dry day today. You guys need a break from the rain for sure. Talk about the South Central U.S., and we will speak on New Mexico in this frame. But most of the South Central U.S. will be quiet. If you live in South Texas, down the Corpus Christi, down to Brownsville, just this entire area of southern Texas, extreme southern Texas, you guys could see another flow basically from the east to the west that can make its way through the southern portions of the state. So some showers and storms are possible down here in South Texas. So be aware of this. But really, I'm watching for New Mexico and areas of extreme western Texas for some showers and storms. So we're going to back this up. As you can tell, we'll start off this morning. Not a whole lot going on, but as we get into late morning, early afternoon, we start to see numerous showers and storms in Colorado, the Front Range, right around the Denver area down to Colorado Springs, all the way down to New Mexico. And it's in New Mexico where these cells, which are very widespread in nature, it looks like, pretty quickly, pretty early on. I mean, early mid-afternoon, these are firing up. This is not going to be one of those late night starters. This will start this afternoon, but any of these storms right into here can be severe. And I mean, very active in Colorado too. I just think that you're lacking some of those ingredients for widespread severe weather up here in Colorado. There'll be a higher threat in New Mexico. But as we're getting later in the afternoon to the evening, these will make their way into western Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, western Kansas, but I think they will lose some steam. But down here in southwest Texas, they still may be ongoing. Watch out, Odessa, Fort Stockton. These storms later tonight after the sun goes down could pack a punch. But a little bit closer look at New Mexico. I mean, here's these storms. If you live in the Fort Sumner region, I think that's the way you say it, the Roswell, Clovis, Santa Rosa, along that Interstate 40 corridor that goes from New Mexico into Texas. These storms could basically be south and north of that. So we watch out for these. There could be enough spin out there for some of these to produce a tornado warning. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be dominant supercells out there. I think this will be more widespread in nature just due to a lot of forcing out there. These storms are, when I say forcing, I mean there's enough oomph in the atmosphere for these storms to really just fire at will. There's nothing to really going to create a struggle for these storms to form. Like sometimes that is the case along the dry line out here, but that won't be the case. Watch out Amarillo a little bit later today, up to Lubbock. Well, down to Lubbock, I'm sorry. A little bit later this evening, these storms will move out of New Mexico into this region. Maybe pack a punch, maybe not. We'll see what happens, but there is a severe weather risk into western areas of Texas a little bit later tonight. Speaking on the tornado risk, it does indicate some of these low-level spins right in here. This doesn't tell us that there's 100% going to be a tornado, but it just kind of gives us the general idea of the risk area of where there could be a spin up in these regions. These storms will be rotating. It's just the fact, do they drop a tornado? But I can tell you, eastern New Mexico likes to produce pretty easily. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some tornadoes today out in eastern New Mexico. Thankfully, it's not a super highly populated area. But I'm sure there will be some storm chasers out there, especially the ones that, do it full time, that chase pretty much every setup, that will get us some pictures of what goes on today in eastern New Mexico. But I do expect some spin-ups. Rainfall from this, I mean, just due to the widespread nature of these storms, a lot of rain could fall. In these yellow areas, over an inch of rain could fall over the next 24 hours. Could get a lot of rain in southwest Texas, but anywhere from a half inch to over an inch of rain could fall in eastern New Mexico, extreme western Texas. We'll watch out for that. Could be some flooding in some more flood-prone regions. Most of the north central U.S. will be quiet. If you live in the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, upper Midwest, quiet day. It's really the northern plains that we watch energy fly out of, and that's really what really the only thing we can speak on right here because everybody else is pretty quiet. But the northern plains, here it goes. We get into this afternoon. We get into about 2 or 3 o'clock. Here comes these storms. I would watch out in all of eastern Wyoming, especially northeast Colorado. We watch for some severe weather in this region. If they issue an upgrade, I wouldn't be surprised if they do it up here in this region. As these storms do form, there could be a damaging wind risk with this. Gusty winds, more so some hail, maybe a brief tornado risk. But we'll watch extreme western sections of South Dakota, western Nebraska, northeast Colorado, eastern Wyoming, as these storms basically fly throughout the afternoon, and the early evening time frame will fly through, pack a punch, then move on out, produce heavy rain, and then fizzle out throughout the overnight hours as they make their way through the Dakotas. But I really think that this could potentially still be packing a punch in like central North Dakota into the wee hours of the morning, and then we'll watch for more energy to kickstart your Tuesday morning. And look at all this snow falling in Yellowstone National Park. I mean, we're getting well into October now. This is not unusual at this point. The snow levels are beginning to drop, and we're starting to see more and more snow. But if you live in Montana today, which I know I got Karen up here in Montana, loyal viewer, appreciate you very much. I think most of the day will be pretty quiet. I think it's maybe later on tonight, waking up into tomorrow morning is when we could see some showers, things like that. Not sure your elevation, if you see much in the way of storms, or, this is getting to the time of the year where your rain starts to mix more so with snow. But I think I asked you that in yesterday's comment. Definitely let me know. It's always interesting. I don't want you guys to obviously tell me your exact address. That's not what I ask. That's not what I'm asking when I say, hey, let me know where you live. It's just a general region on where you live, because eventually some of you guys are, loyal viewers. And most of the loyal viewers, I know exactly where you live. Not exactly, but the area that you live, whether it's the UP of Michigan, Maine, Montana. And it gives me a great idea if you guys send me pictures or just communicate with me on what you're seeing, on how you're saying what the weather is doing, and how it matches up with what I'm seeing on these maps and things like that. So anyways, I like to ramble on sometimes in these videos. But the western U.S., two things going on. We still got this trough of low pressure right here right in the middle of the Rockies. This will continue to spin around moisture. We already talked about Montana, Wyoming. But later on this afternoon, the snow will get going. And, like Yellowstone National Park, and some of this will be convective in nature. I wouldn't be surprised if, if you're higher up in elevation, you hear a crack of thunder. And grapple a lot of times is associated. Which if you don't know what grapple is, it's basically a sleet and snow mixture. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised one bit we get a few inches of snow. This spin will be right over eastern areas of Idaho and then western sections of Wyoming. Some of this will make its way into southern Montana. And then we'll just get a big consolidated area of moisture that sweeps across the Pacific Northwest. And we'll actually back this up. This is moving onshore right now. This will take over most of the states of Washington, most of Oregon, sweep across all those states throughout the afternoon, the evening, start to take over areas of western Montana later tonight. This is getting into after midnight. Idaho, it's still raining back in most of Oregon. And then this begins to drop even more snow in Yellowstone National Park. Speaking of my folks, and I should have had this pulled up already, but we're going to just do it on the fly here. Speaking of that snow here, all right, how much snow is expected? I always love looking at snow, even if it's not in my neck of the woods. But, I mean, these higher elevations, over a foot. I mean, look here in northern and northeast sections of Utah. A lot of snow could fall in the next 24 hours. This is when the snowpack starts to reapply itself, re-add up. We're getting into the cold season. And you love to see it, even if it is in these higher elevations. That's one thing about the West. That's why I don't speak a ton on the West, because everything is so elevation driven out here. And I don't even have to explain that any further. You folks viewing from out West, you guys know that. I mean, you go 30 miles one way, it's 80 degrees. You go 30 miles the other way, you're 10,000, 15,000 feet up in the air. Well, 10, 12,000 feet up in the air. And, I mean, it's in the 40s and, it might be snowing or something. Who knows? It's crazy out there. But anyways, the western U.S., everybody pretty much above average. But it's definitely more moderate in the extreme eastern U.S. like the Northeast, just 60s and 70s, not bad at all. The Southeast, just 70s and 80s. But unfortunately, it's going to be warm, not as warm as yesterday, thankfully, but it's going to be warm again across areas of the South Central U.S., upper 80s, low 90s. It's really above average for our folks in the Midwest and the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region. This is the time of the year where your average highs should be up there, probably around the 60s. Maybe somebody's average high up here might be in the upper 50s at this point. But this is, 20, 25 degrees above average in some cases. Minneapolis will probably try to flirt with 90 degrees today. It's just very warm. Western U.S. with this trough over the western portion of the country and the Rockies, below average temperatures are dominating the entire region. But the central and southern high plains will be warm today, well into the 70s and 80s. Let's give you an update on the tropics. This is what's left over Irina. She is a post-tropical system. Not even going to speak on her really, just because she's fading away into oblivion now. But Tropical Storm Philippe still kicking out here. And some of this big-time convection is getting very close to the Leeward Islands. You actually got tropical storm watches up for areas of the northern Leeward Islands. But we're not expecting any big-time impacts from this really at all. Could get some gusty winds, some tropical storm force brief conditions in some of these areas of the Lesser Antilles. But other than that, hopefully we can get this thing to start moving north and get on out of here. It seems like Philippe's been around for quite some time. But as you can tell, I don't even think Rena's on the screen anymore. And she's not. She's completely off the screen. 5 a.m. she was still on the screen as a post-tropical system. But Philippe, still a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm chilling out there. But is forecast to fully begin to make its turn north sometime in the next 24, 48 hours. Could become a hurricane. Bermuda, as of now, is not in the cone, but I would watch out for this system. As of now, I wouldn't be concerned. If you missed the video last night, here's a little bit of a teaser. Below average temperatures coming for the central and eastern U.S. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Make today a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.